Hi, my name's Steve Greatstock. I'm a senior programmer at the Toronto International Film Festival, and it's my great pleasure to welcome Juho Kuosmanen, the director of Compartment No. 6 here. So applaud digitally or however you do it, but welcome.
Thank you.
Congratulations on the film. Toronto audiences will know you from Happiest Day in the Life of Olli Maki, and I'm sure they're all looking forward to the Compartment No. 6, or they will have just seen it, so or happy with it or whatever. Well, congrats on. I guess I should start by congratulating you on Cannes. That was pretty cool. Were you surprised?
I was totally surprised. I mean, it's I wasn't expecting anything like that. We had a great screening and the feedback was nice, but yeah, in the end, you don't want to think about those prizes, because then you are kind of losing the festival. You are losing the moment there. So but in the end, yeah, that was a nice surprise.
Yes, always good to win the Grand Prize or Grand Prix or whatever, or share it. So congrats. Yeah. I wanted to start with I guess how you discovered the novel that the Compartment No. 6 is based on, and what led you to want to adapt it. Maybe if we could start there.
Yeah. Well, the novel came out like 10 years ago, I think, and maybe the first thing that I got really interested was the setup, the train, and these two characters inside the train, and the fact that it happens in Russia, or the book happens, actually, the novel happens in Soviet Union. So it was, I think it was a very interesting setup, and also very cinematic. I've been traveling quite a lot in Russia, and I love the way the places look. I like the scenery there, and I love trains. And there was so many. There were lots of interesting points in the novel that I got interested, but at the same time I had difficulties to accept that I like when you do a adaptation from a novel, I think you can't imitate the book. So it's always a new thing. I mean, you can't just change the book into a film, but you need to start thinking like, what is in this book that would actually make the film, and what are all those pages that you just have to leave out.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a really hard task, because there was, I mean, we changed in the end. We changed a lot, but in the beginning, when you are fascinated about the book, but then you don't really know exactly like how to make this into a film, and you're just you're worried that everybody will say in the end that the book was better. Like that's the usual case. And but yeah, there was something that just kept me going, and then I started write it, and then we started to collaborate with two Estonian writers, and after some years we started to figure out what was the thing that we were the mostly interested in this setup.
And go ahead.
Yeah, but it was a long journey. Like I read the book like 10 years ago, and then kept few years thinking about it, and then actually started to work on it.
And the author, sorry, I should have mentioned her name, is Rosa Lixum, or Ani Ilvara.
Yeah.
I got did I pronounce that right? Ilvara?
Yeah. But Rosa Lixum is the like, that's her name that everybody knows her. Yeah.
But I mean, I think the changes are actually quite interesting. I mean, you know, the original novel sort of set just before Glasnost and you know, the kind of fall of the Soviet Union or the collapse of that order, and I think the main male character Ljoha is a soldier in the novel, but you move it up. Obviously, people know this since they've just seen the film, but you've shifted it to the sort of period just before Putin's rise to power, and he's you know, the main character is a kind of a migrant worker in a way. He's going to work on like a, you know, big industrial project. So and you know, it's an interesting. Do you want to talk about those? If you could maybe talk about those particular changes, because I do both particularly the time shift. I mean, it is an end of an era in both cases, I think. You know, the end of the sort of Glasnost period in your adaptation in the film.
Yeah. I think those changes they came pretty late. Like we had a script that was almost ready, and then it was already dealing mostly these two characters and this connection between them. And so the Soviet Union, that is it's in the not in the center of the book, but it's a much bigger issue in the book.
Mm-hmm.
Was already like left out quite like most of it was. It was not dealing about the end of Soviet Union anymore, our script. And then when the biggest changes came when we did the casting, when we found the Russian actor, because we were actually searching for a much older guy, because in the book the guy is much older, and then when I found Yuriy Borisov, I think that really made the film. When I saw Yuriy and Seidi together in the same frame that I took a photo of them, I realized that this is the film. It's like this is not anymore the novel, but this is our film. And I was quite surprised, even myself, like how does this feel so right? But at the same time, I don't know exactly why. And the biggest thing in the casting was that I thought that, like many years when we were writing, I thought that it's a story of two totally different characters, like opposite kind of characters, that little by little they start to recognize something similar in the other. But when I saw Yuriy and Seidi in the same frame, I realized that it's actually about two very similar kind of characters, that they are just they are disconnected because they are having some kind of a role, and this was a big thing for Juray's character, the male character, and how we changed that from the book into this character that he is in the film. And the period of the time, I think that came after scouting the places. Realized that there's really nothing left from the 80s, and it would be just not the amount of work, but we were scared that if we are trying to rebuild the set like a Soviet, like end of Soviet Union, it starts to look like a bad period piece. And then we thought, okay, maybe if we are in the end of 90s, how much would it change in the content of the film? And we thought, well, actually not that much. anymore because we are not dealing that much of the nation itself, and we felt that the end of 90s is much easier to make like a living atmosphere, or what would be the word, like that it would look like real life.
Yeah.
We felt that the Soviet Union, if we are trying to rebuild that, it would start to look like a museum or something like cheap period piece.
Yeah, I mean, it would seem more alien, I suppose, or like more of a period piece, more remote.
And also I wanted to focus on these two characters, and I felt that if the frame where it happens, if it's the Soviet Union, it's so big thing that everybody started to, but what does this Soviet Union mean here in the background? And still it happens in Russia, which is a peculiar country, but at the same time, I think that this story could happen in many different places. It's not so tied to the country anymore.
I mean, I think it's interesting that you say that they're quite similar, because, initially when you meet the two characters, one's like a student and academic and intellectual, and the other one's working in a mine. But as you get to know them, they're both on the kind of outsiders or on the outs. I mean, with Laura, the female lead, the heroine, I guess, she's separated by nationality and by, she's definitely, I mean, that great opening scene, that sort of boozy farewell party, which you captured it's great in that. It's quite perfect. But, she's not, her lover, Irina's friends don't know her. They think she's a boarder. They don't know the place she had in her life. And, she's sort of left out of the literary games they're playing, and then you find out that, when you first meet Ljoha, he seems like a very different character than who you actually find out. He's quite different from you have these assumptions about him, and that's not who he is really at all. So that seems to be the. Go ahead.
I think that is kind of the main theme in this situation reflects the main themes in the film. This kind of loneliness that they share, but also this strong connection that happens when you let go of that social role that you are having in most situations. I think Laura's main problem, or the main difficulty to accept the love that she's getting, or I don't know, just to be in present in the places where she's, it has something to do with her self-image, and that she doesn't really, she's always trying to be a bit more, or she's trying to be like in the beginning, she's trying to be more intellectual or something like that, and that's why she's always a bit like out of place. But when you meet someone like Ljoha, then I mean, first you think that he's just an idiot, but then it's like a mirror. Like you just have to accept the way the mirror looks. And then life gets maybe easier.
I love the way this sort of surprises sort of pile up. It's kind of, there are always these sort of curves that the narrative throws at you. Like, when she meets when you meet the elderly lady who's his closest friend, and she and Laura really hit it off, and then and it's like, really beautiful moment, and then the surprise with when the singer shows up who's Finnish and like, steals her stuff. And I mean, it's kind of neat because when you're talking about her being an intellectual, because she seems very relieved that the camera was stolen. Like, first she's upset, and then she's like, who cares, right?
Yeah, that's I think that's one of those things that where she's letting go.
Yeah,
something like she tries to capture everything. She tries to. There's lots of in this film deals with acceptance, and I think this stealing of the camera is one of those things, because in the end, the biggest thing that we need to accept is that we are all going to die in the end, and so there's nothing we can really keep. There's nothing. I mean, everything is changing. Everything will be gone.
Yeah.
And so this, I don't know if it really comes out from the film, but somehow this losing this camera is also like yeah, exactly, whatever.
Yeah,
like
kind of a liberation.
Liberating at the same time when you are losing things, and I mean, losing things, if it's a people or camera or memories or I mean important things, it's terrible, but it's also a big part of life. That's what happens all the time.
Yeah, well, and it also makes her live in the present in a way, like, because the recording and it's sort of like it's sort of distancing yourself from the events you're involved in a way.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask. I mean, the film's been compared to films like Before Sunrise, which is a fair comparison in some ways, but to me it's much more. That's a destination movie, whereas this is very much about travel, and it sort of evokes all those sort of classic examples of travel literature, not about not about places, but about the journey. And I mean, to me it's sort of it's about being stuck in a compartment with somebody you don't know. There's an element. There's always an element of a bit of suspense. I think more so on trains than say on planes or other modes of travel or transportation. But it seems much more connected to that than a kind of the kind of romance that Before Sunrise is. Does that sound fair?
Yeah, that sounds fair. I really like Before Sunrise and those film as well. But in this case, we wanted to avoid this kind of the predefined idea of romantic love story.
Yeah,
and I think we managed pretty well. I mean, it's really difficult when you have young woman and young man. You put them all in the same place. The audience will start to connect, like immediately they have these predefined ideas, like, okay, what will come out of this? And I felt also I was first against to cast Yuriy in this, because he's a handsome young guy, and I felt like maybe if the guy is a bit older, not that handsome, maybe there will be this idea of expectation of a romantic love. But when I kept watching that frame that I did, that photo that I took of them in the casting session, I felt that this is actually, they don't look like lovers. They somehow look like brother and sister. but at the same time, it was pretty hard to keep that film all the time on the level that you are also seeing other things than just waiting the romantic love to happen. Will they fall in love? Will they have sex? Will they whatever? And but yeah, I think it's also a lot to do with their chemistry. They more like somehow they felt all the time when we were shooting, Yuriy and Seidi, the actors, they didn't fall in love. they in the real life, behind the scenes, they were all the time acting more like the small kids, like
brother and sister.
friendship. Yeah, like brother and sister before teenage, and this was something that I tried to convey, this kind of a connection without the burden of romantic love. I mean, there's always something. I mean, romantic love is also based. It involves also roles.
Yes.
There's a role of a man. There's a role of a woman. There's a or whatever that the genders are. There's always some kind of roles and expectations. But this story is. I wanted this to be like more about the pure connection, which is more like between souls.
Yeah.
Like they're like two soulmates. Yeah.
And transcending those sort of assumptions they have about each other too. I think that in a lot of ways it's a deeper movie because of that.
Well,
go ahead.
I hope so. I'm not claiming it's deeper than any other film, but I'm happy that if it feels so. I think that was something we were aiming for when trying to keep it out from that the usual expectations of a romantic love story.
Yeah. And it's
maybe the audience will get deeper in their minds.
Well, and it's obviously set up. It's with the affair at the end of the affair at the beginning, it wouldn't be a logical assumption that they would, be together in the end. The Ljoha and Laura. But anyway, I just want to thank you for the movie. It's an amazing piece of work.
Thank you.
You set the bar pretty high with Happiest Day, and this one is a stellar piece of work as well. So thanks so much for making it and bringing it to us.
Thank you. It would be great to be in Toronto in a couple of weeks, but unfortunately, it's not possible this year.
Yeah. Soon.
Soon. Yeah.
But thanks so much.
Yeah. Great. Anyway, that the film is traveling. That's the main thing. I was waiting this. I mean, the film has been ready for half a year, and it was very devastating spring to wait. I mean, I had a film ready made, and I was happy with it. I was waiting to show it, but at the same time, I was just seeing all the cinemas being closed, and it was a terrible year. But now it's I starting to see the light again.
Sometimes movies pick their own time, and sometimes the times pick them too, right? So it takes time for them. So. But so much for the film, man. And congratulations.
Thank you.
See you soon.